Good afternoon, everybody. And thanks a lot for being here, and especially to the persons that made possible my trip to the South Pacific, especially Finn, that is around here. It's a unique opportunity and a long-awaited dream to be here and see on the side many things we learned mainly from Australian permaculturists and groups of solidarity with Cuba in the early 90s. And I have to say that I'm very happy. Today, I was prepared more to comment around the documentary, that maybe some of you have seen it. So when I heard that it would be me speaking, so I want to start saying that I'm sorry for not bringing like slides or photos, but I was prepared for that type of venue. And I would like to share parts of the story. It's impossible. All of this, everything that happens in Cuba after 1990, or even before, in 20, 30 minutes. But I would like to share with you things that happened to us because of a special situation, and that is necessary to be prepared for, because it can happen everywhere in any community of the world, and especially the considered rich world. Some people will say, okay, in Cuba it was a very peculiar place, a socialist country with a communist government, and they can do this and that. This is not in the discussion, but when we analyze how was the life of Cuba before 1990, and especially around the 80s, it's not possible to see that much difference. Our agricultural system was highly conventional. Even it could be compared with the United States and with some other groups with a high incidence in agriculture. We have 90,000 tractors, and we have 6 factories of chemical fertilizers, and we use thousands and thousands of tons of pesticides. This allowed us to have this open economy that we export sugarcane, citrus, tobacco, and a little bit of coffee. And so we import, thanks to fair trade and mainly from the East economic bloc, Eastern Europe, the things that we need. So, and just to give you an idea of how petrol do we use, one Russian or Soviet tractor needs 1 liter of diesel to walk for 2 kilometers. Just to give you an idea how dependent we were. It's not that we were more prepared or less prepared. So that was the system that we have, based on solidarity, on a different economical arrangement with a socialist country. And that allowed us to have, I can say that like that, a different lifestyle than the rest of Latin America. Extremely high life expectancy. Right now it's 78 years. Free access to health, to education, including university, and a dignified way of life for 11 million people. All of that came to an end, but very abruptly, since the Soviet Union and the East Bloc collapsed, and we lost more than 80% of our markets for export and our supplies for that. Along with that, the American embargo that it started in 1960 was totally reinforced, with the hope to make us, to put us on our knees, and to happen the same that happens in Eastern Europe. It's very difficult to talk about this type of economical crisis, no? Because just try to imagine that money suddenly become paper, because there is nothing to buy, not even in the black market, but you cannot eat the money. And so the situation really, the whole country was on the brink of the collapse, because nothing worked out, and it was necessary to guarantee like the survival of the people, and at the same time the things going on, and we were clear that we needed also to guarantee what we have achieved until that year. It was very hard. very, very, very hard. But I think that we were faced with one big problem, and it's food security. We were like a black box. Nothing, or almost nothing, was coming in, and very little things also can come out of it. And it was necessary to make use of the available things. In terms of petrol, just to give you an idea, a population of 11.2 million people was using in 1988 30 million tons of fuel oil that came from the Soviet Union. And in the worst years, we live with less than 4 million. Just to give you an idea, that's the percentage is very low, and it can be one probable future. There were some good things, and I have to say that also, maybe because of the ancestor or the components of the Cuban nationality, Cantonese, West African, Spanish, a little bit of French, and some other small migrations, came with a very strong sense of community. And this was reinforced in the case of Cuba. Our densities of populations are big, and people treat their neighbors as their relative, and they know each other, and they share things. And I think that was one of the very strong things we have to face that. So the first problem was especially food security, and the food, the only thing we can get is from agriculture. And but there was this big spontaneous movement when people, especially in the cities, in the Havana city, which is the biggest city in the Caribbean by far, 2.2 million people in 730 square kilometers, 20% of the population in less than 1% of the surface. There was no food they couldn't buy. They couldn't even go more than 50 kilometers by bicycle to the countryside to get some food. So they were very smart. They started squatting any place with soil in the city and started growing food there. People did it because of necessity. And it's necessary to say that the evolution of the country that was based in this plantation agriculture for many, many centuries, and afterwards to this highly technified agriculture that minimized the importance of people. They are labor, they are not farmers. People identify a lot the agriculture with misery, illiteracy, hunger, disease, and things like that. We were not a land of farmers. Just to give you an idea how difficult it was in the very beginning. But people started to grow things. They have to. It was by necessity, by nature force. And that's why how the local and the central government showed to be very flexible. Instead of stop that practice, they gave support to the practice, and it's that way how this huge movement of what we call urban agriculture was formed in the country. Actually, today, 2007, 150,000 people works in urban agriculture in Cuba. And this was the embryo of like a better understanding of people, of like the community and the social fabric